hope this thing doesn't crash here in about 10 seconds. But welcome back, everybody, to the episode 8. As Russ let me know last week when we were trying to get this thing going. A lot of great stuff to talk about. We were going to cover last week's game, but now we're going to cover Nebraska. We're going to talk about Purdue. 7 games into the season so far. We're going to talk about Wisconsin. And we've got a special guest with us. We've got Dylan with us, and super excited to get to hear about, just his Purdue fandom, because as we all know, there's not a casual Purdue fan out there. You're either diehard or you're just not. So he's got a pretty cool story to share, some other cool things to talk about as well. But as always, you've got myself, Damon, the Ultimate Boiler. We've got Chris, your 5-0 Ghost, Frank, the Stat Tank, and we've got Russ next to me as well, not below me this time. You're right next to me. So, but yeah.
Hello.
So we'll kind of kick it off with talking about the Nebraska game. And so myself, Chris, and Dylan were actually all at the game. Chris and I were together. Dylan was in his season ticket spots. But what did you guys think of the game? Dylan, we'll go ahead and start with you since you're the guest of honor.
It was a nail biter for sure. Too nerve-wracking for me, but no, the environment was good. The beginning of the game, rowdy as ever. Student section did a hell of a job as always. Just an absolute nail biter. Real nerve-wracking. Purdue tried everything they could to not win, but they pulled it off. So good for them. I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think so I actually kind of went back and watched some of the video, and we played a lot more zone than we usually do. So I think that kind of created a lot of like pass off mishaps between the cornerbacks and the safeties. So I would like, it sucks, but I could see us like coming up to do less of that against Wisconsin, but that's for later in the show. Overall, though, it was a good atmosphere, fun environment. I think that, it was a primetime game in Rossade, so it was off the hook, and it was a good time.
Nice. Well, I'll throw in something nobody said. It was cold. Okay, I was
That
frigid.
it was.
And the people that were sitting around, Chris and I, left in like the second quarter, and so it got real cold after that. My circle of warmth left.
Yeah.
And
I
after
was
that,
sleepy.
yeah. But yeah, no, it was a fun game, like you said, Dylan. It was Purdue tried to do everything it could to not win the game, but I will add to that I think you saw it in this game, and we've seen it in a lot of games previously, that this team is really gritty. It's not perfect, but they find a way to win. They find a way to get the job done, and it's a really fun thing to watch, whether it's going our way or not. It's always an entertaining game. And you guys both talk about the atmosphere being great. It was awesome to see Estella. I was a little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, with the atmosphere. I thought at times it was a little bit golf matchy. I thought I just put too high of expectations, but I thought the crowd was a little quiet. Maybe that was just the north end zone. But I thought overall it was okay, but not what I expected. 61,000 people to sound like for a tie, first place tie in the Big Ten West. But overall it was good.
I will.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I will say that where we sat for that game, I could not hear the loudness of the stadium like I could in the other section where I usually sit. And I don't know if it just bounced off weird, but it definitely sounded different. But I haven't gone back and watched the full game I watched probably the first quarter and a half from TV, and it sounded really good. So I don't know if maybe it just didn't bounce our way or just sounded different in where we were sitting. But
yeah, I was gonna say that's what I haven't heard anybody else say anything. Everyone else has said the game was loud, the atmosphere was awesome. So yeah, it must have just been where we were sitting and the sound bouncing off of everything though. But yeah, so Frank and Russ, you guys were sitting at home watching it on TV. What did you guys think about the game from your view?
I thought it sounded awesome. And to caveat that, I did know someone there. It was their first Purdue game, and they said the atmosphere was crazy. So just kind of a third party perspective, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So maybe it
I
was
thought it
just our
sounded good.
section or
Yeah.
just the way it bounced off of everything.
And I will
Yeah.
say I have been to games at Rossade where like I can't even hear the band, so the acoustics are finicky there.
And there were
Yeah.
times when like I couldn't hear music or anything coming off the Jumbotron. So there's I think some of it had to do with some of the wind, because I think the wind was going north to south. So I think maybe it was pushing some of that sound back away from us. So
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine.
Did any of y'all that were at the game notice any of the students leave early? Because I think I saw a tweet or two talking about students leaving early. And it definitely sounded louder at the beginning of the game on TV. And then you saw some of those shots where it showed the top kind of 10% of the stands, where it was kind of emptying out by the end of the game. So, I think it definitely started strong, but it seemed like some people maybe left early, like maybe thought we were about to start boat racing them or something.
Yeah, I think whenever it was like 27-10 at the end of the second quarter, you kind of saw some people leave, and then definitely like halfway through the third as well, I think. And then you really saw the rest of it kind of empty out. Not the rest of the student section, but just that top, half of the stands, kind of when Purdue went up by 2 scores again there at the end of the game. But yeah, overall, it was a good time. But Russ, what do you think about the game?
I'm working on my mic, so come back to me.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Frank, I think you might have had something else to say too. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Well, no, my overall takeaway of the game as a whole is, from a crowd perspective, I feel like it's hard to kind of rally behind a team and you score, you go up 14, one play later you're down 7 or you're up 7. We just our inability to contain Palmer, number 3. Was a little concerning, but I really feel like they just did a really good job of exploiting the tiniest little mistake. I know they showed the replay a few times of Cam Allen just kind of hesitating there for a split second, dropping back into coverage, and that brief hesitation was enough for 3 yards, 5 yards of separation. But how, from the atmosphere standpoint, how deflating was that to the crowd just to see those deep bombs over and over again to that guy?
I don't think it was.
I don't think it really changed. And especially because I was trying to tell some people 2 weeks ago we had a defense that was cutting off Minnesota and an offense that couldn't do anything. So I think it's just that's a sign of a good team. When the offense isn't doing well, the defense picks up, or when the defense isn't doing well, the offense picks up. So it was more like some of my friends on social media and stuff, but I was definitely these things happen, you just have games where one side of the ball isn't doing well. It is what it is.
Am I sounding any better? Is this any better?
You're still cutting out a little bit.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
We'll roll with it.
But
we'll figure it out.
But yeah, I didn't think it changed in the stadium too much, but definitely saw that on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I always love what's his name, Anish. I think it's Ramaswamy. Is that how you say his last name? The guy from Boiled Sports. He always has just funny, dry satire when it comes to Purdue, and he was just like, why can't it just be a normal game? And I think that's something we were all feeling, because it's like, man, all right, we're up by 2 scores, let's go. And then they kept inching away. But I will say kudos to the team as a whole. Nebraska got close, but they never tied it, or they did tie it at 10-10. But after that, they never tied it again. It was we were always one step ahead throughout the rest of the game. So what was that?
We just found a way.
Oh yeah. So
one thing I'd like to look into maybe for next week is we seem to go into an offensive lull in third quarters just purely by observation, and then we kick it in gear in the fourth quarter again. But I'm gonna look into that and see how much truth
I feel like that's
that.
been a thing since Tiller.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
At least since Hazel. It always has seemed like a third quarter thing,
but I tell you what, though, watching that game, it was awesome seeing Maccabee just go off against that team. It
was bananas.
And I remember I freaked out. I looked at Chris and I was like, did we just do a sweep right there? Did we just pitch the ball? What's happening? What's happening right now? But it was awesome to see. And I went back and watched some of his highlights, and he's just so he's just a tough dude.
Yeah.
And I think the first play of the game kind of set the tone for him and just his night, because they had that pitch out to the right side, and he met that linebacker head on and just ran right through him.
Even the
he was tackled
announcers were
immediately
like,
after that, but you could hear the audible hit on TV. It was like, like he came to play tonight. And he said in the post-game interview, he said, I knew I was getting the start tonight, and I knew I had to show up. I'm like, yep, you did, man.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see a semi-healthy King Daru back on the field. He looked good, especially on that catch. He caught that ball and he took off. So really excited to see what he'll do this week now that he's getting more healthy.
Yeah.
If you guys can struggle through a couple comments here, I'll go back to
you sound good.
The big play, ability of Palmer. It seems like some of the games I've been to, and it's more almost neutral site games that I've seen the back and forth. But when you have big plays, it doesn't seem to affect the crowd as much as if you have a long drive that we just can't stop anything they're doing. When you get one big play, it's like, all right, shake it off. Let's get back in the game. But if it's a long drive, that seems to be how you really shut down a home crowd or like majority crowd is, if you just control the ball, control the game, it slowly just takes the other team out of it. But if you just score real big, it's like, okay, they got the ball back. Let's answer now.
The fascinating thing was Nebraska only had the ball for 17 minutes in the game.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Time of possession.
5 minutes in the second half.
Crazy. Yeah.
So, and you pointed out the third quarter, and I wanted to make some notes of this even during the game because I knew it'd come up. But the weird things about our third quarter drives, we had basically 3 third quarter drives. The first one ended because Kobe Lewis got in the game. We gave him like 2 straight carries. Nothing really happened. We ended up with 3rd and long. We couldn't pick it up. So it kind of like threw off our momentum, why we went away from Maccabi, especially in the third quarter when you'd think you'd come out with the starters strong on the first drive. That didn't happen. Second drive was where we drove down within field goal range and Finner missed the field goal. So then it's 2 drives with no points. And then third drive, we actually drove down and answered and scored a touchdown. So I don't think our third quarter offense was as bad this last game. It was just comparatively, Nebraska was doing whatever they wanted in the third quarter on offense and made it a ball game again.
We just didn't finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And but on a positive note with defense, though, I thought who was it? Was it Clyde Washington that had that first interception? I thought it was Kieran Douglas, but apparently it was Clyde Washington. Then he got up there for that one.
Yeah, because he came in for oh dang it. Was it Fakasieki? No.
Maybe.
I think it was Wahlberg.
Well, yeah, somebody. But the fact he just came in and just was like, well, mine.
And it was funny because I remember Chris and I were watching it, and I guess just from our angle, we could see Washington just lined up perfectly with the quarterback. He was just like, all right, I'm waiting.
I think I might have yelled, that's a pick.
Yeah.
Because you could just see it like line up like this. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, and I know I told you guys while you're at the game, like you have no idea how impressive or an interception that Reese Taylor made. Hopefully, you guys have gone back and seen that.
Oh,
that was a circus catch.
That was a very he made it for some boo boos that game.
Yes, he did. He made it. For
I'd say 60 to 70% of receivers wouldn't come up with that catch.
No, right. Agree completely. Yeah, that was an impressive catch. And then I told you all the same thing about some of those throws O'Connell made in the fourth. I mean, like
that little out route that he made to Charlie Jones. I think that last touchdown that was like nuts. He's got what you said, a shoebox.
Yeah. There's literally a shoebox size area that he had to put that ball in to score that touchdown, and he did. And then that 3rd and 11, I think it was, where he just dropped back, and they kept showing the camera angle where it's just like he threw the ball to nothing. And then Jones just appears like with a guy right on his hip and just like grab. I mean, it was such a good throw, and he's got guys running straight at him. Like, he has a half second to get that ball
I just
out.
think about the play that I I punched Damon's heart out of his chest.
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that.
Chris is violent when you watch games next to him.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. Well, it was the one pass where like Jones just sees it out of the side of his like face mask. He's like, whoop. Where like 3 Nebraska dudes. It was in the first half, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was like,
I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Where he's just,
like
like,
turned and the
running
ball is right at his
and
face. Yeah,
There, I was,
Yeah.
dude. That was one of the most mind-boggling passes I've ever seen.
it was so funny because he literally puts his hand on my shoulder, Chris does, and he like comes around and just
I
like
did.
it was like he was going for the death punch. He like had his open palm and he was just like boom, and I was like,
I was like, oh, I just killed Damon.
it was funny though.
It was a good time.
Yeah,
Dylan,
but
what'd you think about some stuff?
yeah,
It was a rowdy. Well, so we go up by the 2 scores. Purdue goes up by 2 scores, and my wife is like, "It's over." Like Purdue won. I said, "No. Little you have no idea what we've been through." And my uncle, I go to games with my 2 uncles, my dad's fraternity brothers from college, and one of my uncles is like, "Listen, lady, you don't know. You have no idea. what
you
could
need to
possibly
relax.
happen."
Like,
It's her second season coming to games. Poor lady doesn't know better, but no, it was awesome. It was like I said, it was a nail biter, nerve wracking. But Purdue pulled it off, and that's something in the past Purdue is notorious for not doing, was pulling off games and digging their
Yeah.
heels in and getting it done. And Braum and Aiden and Mockabee and so many others, they all got it done, and so I liked that. Was good to see.
and I think I made this point probably 3 weeks ago. I think that the mental fortitude of this team is something we haven't seen in a Purdue team in a very long time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think Frank even mentioned in our group chat after the game something about fourth quarter team. Right?
Yeah. Oh, Braum even said like we're a fourth quarter team. He said, and would we like to win by a lot of points and put people away? Sure, but that's not really who we are. And you take it or leave it was kind of his message.
Yeah.
And
my thing is this, like these games right now in October set us up for a good thing in, the first weekend of December, if that's where we happen to be.
Yeah.
Agreed.
They actually showed a graphic going into the fourth quarter, and I didn't even know this because we look at a lot of stats from our past games, our upcoming opponents, etc. But we're actually second in the Big Ten in fourth quarter points scored.
Oh wow,
Michigan.
That's
Second in the
crazy.
Big Ten. So yeah,
I must have missed that, but that kind of fits in with my theory that we catch fire in the fourth. It
Yep.
seems to happen every game. That like the third we go in a slump, but we make up for it in the fourth.
Yeah.
It's like there was a row of kids in the front.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, there was a row of students in the student section, the first row, and they were shirtless, which how they did that, well, booze probably. But how they did that, I don't know. But they had like Purdue grit. And I'm like, yeah, this team's pretty gritty. That
I
fits
saw
out
that
pretty
on
well.
TV. Yeah.
oh that's
But
cool. I
like,
didn't notice that.
it's definitely where like I feel like even in the third, we might not do a lot in terms of scoring points, but our defense keeps us in it.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know, and that's where I think it's a big deal. We might not do a lot during that third quarter, but
This game
we
is
don't
maybe an
lose a lot.
exception to that. But
It is so wild to see though. It's perplexing to watch. Like I can't remember what quarter it was. Maybe it was the third or fourth, but we had Nebraska pinned. They were on. No, they had a touchback. They're on their 25, and then first play sack. It was like 2nd and 24, and then the third play I think was another sack, and then the third play was an incomplete pass, and then the fourth play was another sack. So 3 and out, huge 3 and out. We're like, holy crap, this team's amazing. And then the next drive on defense, one pass to Palmer, 72-yard touchdown. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I put my brief cliff notes for the game was kind of 3 statements. Is every game will be close, our new slogan. And then I put Trey Palmer's good, AOC is better.
agreed.
Yeah.
And
I like
to add to that, the unsung hero of this game was the offensive line. Like they didn't give up a single sack, and AOC wasn't pressured very much. They're the unsung heroes of the game.
Yep. I'm going to say it definitely seems like that offensive line is starting to gel.
Yeah, I think
Both
so.
rush
injury, too.
blocking and pass blocking.
Well, they have to. We're thinner now. The guys that are left now, they've got to make it work.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, which is awesome that that's their response to be able to just gel like that. And I mean, not only did they protected Aiden, but I mean, they were making holes for Mockbee, for King, for
I could
everybody
run
was
through
getting
those
their own.
holes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Some of those holes are pretty big.
Those
Yeah.
are friggin' huge.
So, awesome stuff. Overall, I think we've got a lot of positives from Nebraska that we can take into Wisconsin. And by the way, we're 3-0 out of this, this road stint.
death month.
Yeah, this death month, and we're just
Yeah.
one game away from a bye. So,
And
keep
people thought at best we'd be 2-2 in this month.
yeah. So, I mean, kudos to the coaching staff to be able to, evolve. But Russ, what were you going to say?
I was going to say one last thing was my moment of the game and my play of the game is, and I would have liked to be in the atmosphere to start the fourth quarter, but my play of the game is that first play of the fourth quarter. We came out 3rd and 12 from our own 9-yard line. Nebraska had just made it 34-30, so we're only up 4 points, and it's kind of like, oh man, are we going to give them? They're going to take the lead after we've seemingly dominated the rest of the game, just like so many times this season. But instead, AOC hits Charlie Jones up the middle for 16 yards, and we go on to take 5 minutes off the clock. We don't get in the end zone. We take 5 minutes off the clock and get a field goal to make it a 7-point lead again. And to me, that was just another feather in the cap of how tough our team is mentally and how we can overcome adversity like maybe no squad Brahms put together so far. So that was huge to me. When we made that first down conversion, that more so than Dylan talking about being up 2 scores at one point. When we made that conversion, I thought, okay, I think we got this game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though. Whenever Finneran missed that field goal to put us up 14, I was like, "Oh no, this is an omen. This is an omen." I think we all felt that.
Nebraska's use of their timeouts.
That was
bad. Wild.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you called a timeout on 4th and 1, we still converted. All right, cool. Glad that was a good time. Like, great, yeah, great time.
And he burned 2 out. Didn't he burn the first 2
twice?
in the second or the third quarter?
Yeah,
third quarter. Yeah,
just crazy.
So
the Nebraska fan like 2 rows behind us was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
I will say, and this will probably go without saying, Big Ten refs still need fix because there's a lot of bad plays on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. I was watching the one that everybody's been screen
capping. Where like
the,
half our receivers get leveled. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is when you watch that clip, the Payne Durham runs into that guy, gets leveled, just falls down. But then like that guy has like a delayed reaction. He's like, "Oh my god, Payne train!" And he just like kind of collapses onto the ground. Yeah, it was just funny. But yeah, that was a horrible no call anywhere on that play. But so yeah, Nebraska. We're moving on from Nebraska. We're 5-2 right now, tied for first in the Big Ten West against Illinois. As we all knew coming into the season, where we'd be. But yeah, so Dylan, with you being the guest, I've got a couple questions for you just because I think, we want people to get to know you. Obviously, just looking at your background, that beats all of ours tenfold. You're a big Purdue guy, which is super cool. And, we mentioned it earlier in the podcast that nobody's ever just like a common or, lukewarm Purdue fan. You're kind of all in. So kind of tell everybody about, how that started and evolved.
Yeah. So I'll start out, being born and raised outside of Dayton, Ohio. It's a blessing. I'm a Purdue fan. I could easily become one of those Ohio State nerds real quick. But luckily my dad went to Purdue, had season tickets since I was a kid. And so I've been, oh God, when was my first Purdue football game? I was probably 4 or 5. And so I've been going to games since. And so just being raised a Purdue guy, going to school back in the day, wearing my Purdue jersey on Fridays, and all the kids awesome. Being like, "Why aren't you an Ohio State fan?" I'm like, "Because I'm not." All right, but deal with it. But then, like whenever we beat Ohio State, exactly, they're the worst. I mean, I can say it. I live with these people. But like growing up, whenever we beat Ohio State in football or basketball, I'd show up that Monday to school just talking all sorts of mess, man.
I love it.
And those moments made it, all the crap I took worthy. But yeah, so grew up going to football games. I try to go to a couple basketball games a year. Like I said, my fandom comes from my dad. I lost my dad last February after a lengthy cancer battle. So this first game back this year, was very emotional. But luckily, I've had my wife with me at every game, and now I've gotten her into it, and now she's a Boiler diehard. She loves it, which
awesome.
which is just awesome. I'm glad she bought, because I didn't think she would. She was never really into sports when we first got together, and then I think I took her to her first game like 2-3 years ago, and instantly she likes the band, she likes the pageantry, the cheerleaders, she loves that,
Cool.
but she also kind of watches the football,
Right.
but like she just loves. I think after the first game, I took her to. She was like, "Hey, let's go to the gift shop." And I'm like, "Oh God, this crap's expensive, but okay, well, it's worth it. Like we'll get there." So like 4 shirts, 2 hoodies, and God knows what else after. She was bought in.
She's hooked.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
she's hooked. So it's great to have her. Like I said, grew up going to games with my dad. And then now, since dad's passed, I've kind of passed it down to my wife. And then when we have kids, I'm going to take when dad passed away, like I said earlier, I go to games with his 2 fraternity brothers who we've gone to games with my entire life. And they said, do you want to take over your dad's tickets? And I was like, oh yeah, I don't care what the price is. I don't care
That's awesome.
what I'll have to do. Like, give me his tickets, because I
Yeah.
cannot imagine not being at Purdue on Saturdays in the fall. I just can't.
Yeah.
It's in my schedule. I work. Luckily, I'm in a family-owned business, so I can, not
Make
do what
that
I want.
work.
But yeah, tell everybody, like, hey, Saturdays in the fall, you're not going to see me. Okay, I won't be
Right.
here. I will be over at Purdue or at home watching the game. Just go on without me, and they're
Just
good with
you
that.
do you.
So yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. Luckily, raised a Purdue fan by my dad, or else I'd be one of those stuck-up Ohio State people. But
Nerd.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's all thanks to my dad. At the end of the day, it's all thanks to him. Went to Purdue, Delta Sigma Phi. Loved Purdue, fell in love since he went on campus the first time. Grown up in Ohio, it's Ohio State or nothing.
Yeah.
You'll see the occasional, like I'm about 30 minutes away from Miami of Ohio, so you'll see a few of those people, but it's rare because it's the MAC. God love them. But
Action.
Mac, I love, and don't get me wrong, I love some action. I mean, I will
Some
take
action,
action
baby.
every day. But I do go to one Miami game a year, and it's interesting. It's not the Big Ten environment, but
Yeah.
they still have a good time over there. For sure. So
Well,
yeah, it's really all thanks to my dad that I'm a Purdue guy.
that's awesome, man. That's an awesome story, and super heartwarming to hear about that. And it's cool because I think we all probably relate to that story in one way or another of just being young and somebody taking us to our first game, and just that feeling that we got. I remember my game exactly. I don't remember. I think I started going the year after Breeze, and I remember my first game, and the only thing I can even remember from the game is that we were playing Michigan State. We beat Michigan State, and I remember Rowdy, the mascot, was like on Michigan State's sideline,
Rest in peace,
just
Rowdy.
like terrorizing Mark D'Antoni the
Going
entire game.
bananas the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
The Rowdy just kind of waddling around. God, I loved Rowdy. I wish they'd bring him back. They sold the suit somewhere online. I saw like a year or two ago, and I was like, if I would have saw it in time, I would have bought the damn thing.
Oh, I know you would have. Yeah,
Bring him back. I would have walked to my seats in that thing.
Yeah. So that's a really good, segue into one of my other questions was, you have a ton of Purdue memorabilia, swag, whatever you want to call it. And we've talked about this a little bit, you and I just, here and there. Because I know you're on eBay a lot looking for stuff. So what got you started into that? Have you just always liked looking for vintage stuff, or like what kind of kickstarted that for you?
It's a twist of like vintage stuff, and I'm a big uniform, nerd, I guess.
Same.
Like Boiler uniforms, Ted and I, good friends, love that guy, and we could talk uniforms for days on end.
I love that.
So I as a kid, I always wore like the team store jerseys, whether it's basketball, football, whatever I could get my hands on, whatever my dad would buy, because no kid has money.
Right.
And then when I got adult money, it turned into buying like game used, team issued. Like I got this Cliff Averill jersey behind me. That's a game worn. He's super awesome. I posted it. I think it was on Twitter, probably Twitter. And he DM'd me and said, hey, send it to this address. I'll sign it and I'll send it back. Yeah, Cliff is Cliff is one of the cool dudes for sure. I've got a Kyle Orton. I've got a Kyle Orton Buffalo Bills, because Bills Mafia is the best. And the sleeves on that thing are down to the elbows. I mean, that guy loved some long sleeves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I built some mini helmets over the years. I've got a friend with a 3D printer, and he can do not only just the Revolution speeds that you see in the team stores, but the F7s, the
Oh wow.
speed flexes. Yeah, so I got a bunch of those.
Dylan, you're now my new best friend.
It's
New permanent member of the podcast, Dylan Kuhn, everybody.
Yeah.
But like I told you guys before the show started, my wife calls my man cave Cracker Barrel. So she's like, "There's so much crap on the walls." I was like, first of all, it's not crap; it's all good stuff.
Right.
But, like
Watch
this is
your
one of my
mouth.
helmet builds, 2001 Rose Bowl build. I don't know where I bought the helmet from, but I just took all the original decals off of it. Thank God for eBay. I'm sure a lot of people watching have beaten me to it on eBay deals, and for that, I hate all of you. No, just kidding.
I'm
It's all
definitely
fair
not
game.
saying I'm on eBay right now. But
Damn it. But yeah, just and I have a bunch of. My dad was a photographer, and has a bunch of photos that he took at his time in Purdue in the 70s. So I have a
That's
lot
really
of those
cool.
framed up. I have when my dad was going through cancer treatment, one of his friends made him a Purdue Pete hammer, and it looks like a legit Pete hammer. It's up on my wall across the room, but
Wow.
it's probably the coolest thing in my collection.
nice.
And I got that. Dad handed that down to me. A lot of it is stuff I got from my dad. I have a Purdue Airport sign above me. He never told me how exactly he got it, but I
Tactically
have it.
acquired.
And it looks like he goes, well, some guys at the fraternity house stole it and put it in my room. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Like, yeah, you got it, Dad. Like, okay, it just happened to be in your room. Yeah, you got me.
Just
But yeah,
left
it's
it
just
in there.
collecting is just it's something I've always liked. I may have too much, but I need to buy a bigger house. Is the big issue. But one day it'll go all into a man cave and basement, which would be bigger than my one bedroom in my apartment right now. But yeah, it's just it's just all the things I love about Purdue in one room, and that's really what it's about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love your sticker, by the way. There, the Drew Brees, Joe Tiller sticker you got right there on your boom arm.
Ryan Dowd from Boiled Sports made that. I bought it before either Tiller or Breeze's people ceased and desisted him.
Oh, nice.
So like I'm one of the few. I think he may have it back on the store. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, I got this, and he texted me right after. He goes, "I think you're one of the few that actually got it to go through because shortly after I got hit with a no, like you can't make those."
You stop it.
And this is my wife made these. These for my dad. It's TK. It's got the Delta Sigma Phi.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
His birth year and his death year, and she made a couple of those for us to wear at the first game.
Nice.
So that's one I got. And Tiller's my guy. My dad looked a lot like Joe Tiller. If we would go somewhere after games, people would do like a double take and be like, wait a minute. Just bald white guy with a gray mustache, and people were like, Joe Tiller.
Yeah, right.
Right. Dude, that's awesome. I love it. I love the collection. I love all the history behind it. It's so cool hearing you talk about it. Your just passion for Purdue athletics just shines through whenever you're telling these stories, and it's so cool to hear. Now, last time when we were trying to get this thing up and running last week, you mentioned a really cool, quick story about a Joe Gilliam jersey that you had at one point, and I think it'd be cool for everybody else, anybody listening to hear that story too.
For sure. So Joe Gilliam, I think it's Gilliam, is a Purdue football alum. He passed away a number of years ago, also from after a lengthy cancer battle. A great Purdue player, gritty as all get out. Just really could dig his heels in on defense and get the job done. His good friend Ryan Russell, also a Purdue grad, who was also an absolute beast on the field. I reached out to him. I have one of Joe's jerseys, and I bought it 5-6 years ago, as well before he passed away. And so I didn't know what to really do with it. I wanted to make sure it was in the possession of somebody who meant a lot to Joe and vice versa. So I reached out to Ryan because I knew they were good friends. And I said, hey, man, like I have one of Joe's game worn jerseys. I mean, this thing was beat all to hell just because he put it through hell, man. He was a rock star on the field. And so reached out to Ryan. Ryan sent me an address. He goes, yeah, man, if you can send it over. Super nice guy. We had a great conversation. Just one of my favorite Purdue alums, not just for his play on the field, but for who he is as a person. I think he's just one of the nicest guys you can come across. And you'll find that with a lot of Purdue alumni. Like I said with Cliff, and Ryan, and there's a few others I could name that are one of my favorite things about Purdue athletes, current or present, is they're very approachable people.
Yeah.
Their heads aren't too big. Whether you're talking about the players, or I've had great conversations with Painter at football games. I haven't been able to talk to Brom yet, but but everyone is just down to
One day,
earth.
one day.
Yeah, one day. All of them are just down to earth guys, and that's another thing I love about Purdue and the community and the fan base and the alumni and all that. It's just an incredible group of people. So yeah,
Mhm.
but I actually sent out the Joe jersey to Ryan yesterday,
Oh,
and
awesome.
yeah, so I'm excited for him to get that, and I'm just glad that the jersey will be in hands of somebody who Joe meant a lot to, and meant a lot to Joe. They were best of friends, from what I could tell,
Yeah.
and so that's another thing about the collecting game is you meet a lot of great people just with buying, sending, trading, whatever it may be. You meet a lot of really, really cool people, and I've been lucky to meet not just great alumni, but great fans and
Yeah.
people who love Purdue for what Purdue is. And to me, that's just like we've said a bunch, and it should be said a bunch. You're not just a Purdue fan to be a Purdue fan. Like you live and die by these basketball, football, volleyball, soccer, whatever, baseball. I
Yeah.
mean, you're invested 100%. There's no half-assing when you're a Purdue fan. You're
Right.
all in or nothing. But yeah, so really happy I got to send that jersey to Ryan, and
That's good.
excited for him to get it for sure.
That's so cool, man. I love all those stories and just hearing you talk about all of your Purdue experiences. I think it's a really neat thing, and hopefully anybody listening gets inspired to either start their own collection or maybe even go to their first Purdue game. Maybe they've just been a fan, haven't been able to go to a game, and I think hearing you talk about your experiences and how much going to Purdue meant to you is a really cool thing. So hopefully somebody latches onto that and experiences their first game because of it.
And this isn't real quick, like anybody, this isn't me, like they're not sponsored obviously or anything, but like Rail Splitters Authentics is the like Tom Schott, who used to be what was he? SID of football, I think. He runs it now before he retired. Like you can get a ton of really good pieces of memorabilia through them. So
Oh
if
yeah,
you follow them on Facebook, like they've got a lot of really good pieces. I've got 2 or 3 pieces from them so far, and like Charlie Jones signed helmet and stuff from the bowl game and stuff. It was really good.
Charlie
the
Jones signed
Facebook group
helmet. That
is
was
great.
quick.
Yeah, dude, bro, it's over here, bro.
That's awesome. But what'd you say it was called? Rail splitters?
Rail Splitters Authentics.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, so yeah, we've got Wisconsin coming up though. That's a game that on paper, and from a statistical standpoint, it looks like that we have the advantage. But as we all probably feel it in the pit of our stomachs, being who we are as Purdue fans, this game is at Camp Randall, and we haven't won there in 18 years. But I think it's time to break the curse. I'm excited. So. Frank, I'm sure you've got some cool statistics to pull up, and if not, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there.
Oh no, I've got it. I've got a few.
Okay,
Frank was gassing it up.
Few things I can drop about Wisconsin.
just a couple.
Yeah, so just kind of diving into what they like to do. They like to run the ball. I think everyone knows that. That hasn't really changed in about 50 years. But what's interesting this year is usually when we play Wisconsin, they are light years ahead of our running game. Let's see. PFF ranks us, Purdue, as the 48th best rushing offense in D1 right now.
Really?
Where do we think? Well, yeah, actually, where do we think Wisconsin's ranked?
Rushing defense or rushing offense?
Rushing offense. I'm sorry. Maybe I misspoke. I said we are the 48th rushing offense right now.
I'm going to say they're somewhere around 90 to 100.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 80 to 100. Yeah,
I was gonna guess somewhere like 76th. I'm gonna give you an exact number.
They're 47th. We're 48th.
Oh.
They're 47th.
The way you were
And
building
so-
that up, I thought they were gonna be like,
no. So what's interesting is that our run games are comparable. Now they average something like 170 yards per game to our 113. But what this takes into account is all factors. How well do you run the ball when you try to run the ball? They run the ball a lot more than we do. So that's why you're looking at things like efficiencies, just like we do in basketball, matters a lot more. So you can say, well, they average 170 yards on the ground per game. We only average 113. Therefore, they're better at running. Well, they run the ball on 56% of their plays, and ours is a little bit under 40. So when we run the ball, we're just as efficient as they are in doing so. Kind of going into their big kind of standout player, Braylon Allen. The guy is a monster of a human being, 6'2", 235, like kind of bigger than your prototypical running back. Loves to run outside. Over 50% of his runs are to the right edge or the left edge. 334 of his 750 yards have come on the outer edges. He doesn't run up the middle often, but when he does, he's averaging 13 and a half yards per carry. So not really sure what the play calling is going that way, but it definitely is. Only one fumble on the season as well. Wisconsin does like to use him in the Wildcat from time to time, so it's just something that we need to be prepared for. Kind of moving into their receiving, there's one guy we need to watch out for. I'm probably going to mispronounce this name, but I believe it's Chimere DK. 6'5", 185. He's the home run guy. He runs a 4.42 40. He has 29 catches on 41 targets this season, 2 drops, 223 yards after the catch on 29 catches. Yeah. So he is the slot guy. He plays almost primarily in the slot. I think it was around 76% of his snaps are in the slot. Only 81 yards per game, but the majority of those come after the catch. His average depth of target is 11 yards. And Graham Mertz, their quarterback, is elite when throwing deep. Outside of this guy, no one really stands out. I don't think they had another receiver averaging more than 60 yards per game. I expect to see Corey Trice on this guy. Corey Trice has the size and he has the speed to keep up with him. And I think he's going to be the one to get the assignment on this guy.
And I think we run a lot more man against Wisconsin.
I have a theory as to how to beat Wisconsin, or how we can best prepare for Wisconsin, and I'll get into that.
All right, jump the gun.
No, that's okay. But let's see. I'm trying to see. So how often does Corey Trice line up in the slot?
I don't know, Frank. You're the stat guy.
386 snaps. He's played 16 in the slot.
Wow.
So, but I don't know who else we have in the secondary who has the size and speed to match up with this guy. So he's basically a taller version of Palmer, who we saw torched us last week. So we'll be really curious to see how that goes. So moving into the quarterback
last week, but without the offensive ability to be that explosive.
No, he's that explosive. He's probably the best receiver we've seen so far this year. The best individual receiver.
But overall offense, I don't think they're as explosive as anything
Nebraska.
We've seen.
Yeah.
Nebraska or Syracuse, Penn State, anything.
Agreed. Agreed with that statement. They have 3 individuals really, but as a whole, they outside of those 3 guys, there's a pretty steep drop off.
Right.
Which leads me into Graham Mertz, the quarterback. Respectable, 236 yards per game. He's had an up and down season. He's either on fire or he's terrible. He is elite when he has time to throw. 124 passer rating, 69% completion percentage. If he has time to throw and he's comfortable in the pocket, he's good. When he's under pressure, he's terrible. He's absolutely his completion percentage drops to 47. He's been sacked 14 times. 26% pressure to sack percentage, meaning 26% of the time that he's under pressure, he gets sacked. That's very high. As a quarterback, you want that number to be under 10, ideally. Mm-hmm. When he's under pressure, he has more interceptions than touchdowns. And I think that is a major part of our game plan this weekend. But let's take a look at his deep passing ability. He is elite on passes 20-plus yards. His passer rating, 124 on passes that are 20 or more yards. 20% of his passes, that's 1 out of 5, are beyond the 20-yard line. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he can connect on the deep ball. One major weakness of this Wisconsin offense is their pass blocking. That's particularly on the interior. Their guards and their center, not great pass blockers. So I expect guys like Branson Dean, Lawrence Johnson to really get after the quarterback. So that's kind of a snapshot of Wisconsin's offense.
Plus some of those like middle linebacker blitzes and safety blitzes and stuff like that coming up through the middle.
I would really like to see some of that. I'm a huge fan, just as a whole, of secondary blitzing. I wish we could do more of it.
Yep.
We
saw the one play that gave up like 67 yards. Not saying that Jamari Brown was held for like 46 yards on that play, but whatever. Cam Allen looked like he was going to rip that Nebraska quarterback head off.
Yeah, I think we need to send Sanusi Kane up the middle more often too, because anyone who's not scared of that guy.
Yeah, Sanusi Kane's going to get a hate crime before the end of the season.
Yeah, he's impressive. On defense, they love to get after the quarterback, and they're actually really good at getting after the quarterback just with their D line alone. So they have 11 sacks, 53 hurries on the season, and hurries matter. Like we know, like hurries matter. I would almost rather have 20 hurries in a game, versus 5 sacks, because you're forcing the quarterback out of the pocket. You're forcing him to make a throw that he may not make otherwise. And they're able, 43% of their QB hurries have come without blitzing. So they're able to do it just with their D-line alone. The flip side of that is their coverage has been pretty bad. They have really, really bad coverage. Of the 6 DBs who have played the most snaps, of the 6 DBs who have played the most snaps for Wisconsin, 5 of them have a reception percentage over 60%, meaning they allow the guy they're covering to catch the ball 60% of the time. 2 of those 5 are above 70%.
Chuck Sizzle season.
Yeah. And when you couple that with the fact that their missed tackle percentages are pretty poor, one guy has 50% missed tackle percentage one-on-one, one with 40%, and 3 with 25%. So it's pretty abysmal. So they allow the guys to catch the ball, and then when they do catch the ball, they can't tackle them. So this just sounds like a recipe for some quick passes, some quick blitz beaters, get the ball into the playmakers' hands and let them do their thing.
It's like a bubble screen fiasco. For
nope.
Them.
Nope. No bubble screens.
Bubble
screens are the devil. Okay, I grew up watching bubble screen after bubble screen, and I'm tired of it. I'm so sick of bubble screens.
So they're
head explode. Both.
God, I hate bubble screens.
Both. Why not? Because they will. If there's enough bubble screens, they will. They will.
Right.
The leader of the defense for Wisconsin is Nick Herbig. He's kind of a Leo edge rusher. He's just kind of always heralded as the leader of the defense, kind of like we hear about Jalen Graham being for us. He has 6 sacks, 12 hurries on the season, 24 individual stops. He's been bitten by the tackling bug this season. About 25% of his solo tackles have been missed, which has actually been a problem that's plagued the entire Wisconsin defense. And 5 players who have played more than 100 snaps have a missed tackle percentage of 30% or higher. So I don't know how many times we've seen King Doru this season, and the limited amount of time we've seen him just be one missed tackle away from taking one to the house. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. So, Chris, to segue into my prescription, what I would do, my game plan if I were designing a game plan against Wisconsin, A would be run the ball.
Right.
We've shown that we can run the ball against some pretty stout defenses. We did so against Minnesota. And that will set up play action. That will set up deep passes. But if we can establish the run early, that opens up our playbook. Second thing is going to
starting again for the second game. So
agreed. Yeah. The second aspect is going to be to get the ball out quick. With their ability to generate pressure on the edges really quickly, especially without blitzing. I would like to see some blitz beaters, some rubs, maybe without penalties. Payne, I'm looking at you.
Blocks.
Yeah.
Block.
So I'm definitely so I actually look back or listen to the radio call for that play. That play developed slow. So that ball was actually supposed to be thrown behind the line. So Payne actually was.
It wasn't supposed to be a rub.
Stand.
Hello.
I admire your passion, though. I really do.
No, so so that play wasn't actually supposed to be a rub. It was supposed to be a ball thrown behind the line and run up, but the defensive end, I think, got in the way. So the play developed slower than it was supposed to.
Well, regardless, you can't lay out a player like you did. I mean,
Right, but
and
if
that's the
it's on,
second time
but
this
if it's
season he's
on
been called for
time, he
that.
can.
Yeah, and I actually didn't realize that's actually an emphasis for officiating this season. They're trying to cut down on that. So it's interesting that we've had
It's
two of those
amazing that the
calls.
officials can emphasize anything, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's neither here.
and that just alludes to that. But
I definitely think that we can run, and this is an NFL thing, but a lot of kind of how the Colts played against Jacksonville this last week. It was a lot of like really short, like 5, 6, 8, 10-yard passes, and just kind of dink and dunk it down the field, just to kind of neutralize that pass rush.
And I think that forcing their receivers outside of their lead guy, which I expect to see Tryson, and I'd like to see a cover one, a deep safety over the top to take away anything that could potentially happen with him. But I think we challenge their other receivers who haven't really stepped up very much this season to beat us one-on-one.
Yeah.
And we make adjustments there if needed, but I think we focus on stopping the run and we play deep. We play one deep and go man on the rest of the receivers. And then obviously, as we talked about with Graham Mertz's inability to handle pressure, we have to get some creative blitzes. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hagan draw up like some stunts, some stings, some delayed blitzes, and I would love to see some secondary blitzes. I would love to see Sanusi Kane on a few like edge up the middle. Love to see Cam Allen. He impressed me on that blitz where he honestly could have been flagged for a roughing the passer call. But I think if we can run the ball, if we can get the ball out quick, make them pay for their blitzing, if we can contain their stud receiver and maybe hold them to 80 yards or so, and consistently get pressure on Graham Mertz, we have a really, really good shot at winning this game. I think the line right now is 2.5. So Vegas knows it's going to be close. But that's my prescription for how we go about beating Wisconsin. I'll be curious to see how the actual executed game plan matches that.
Frank, I always love this part of the podcast. I love hearing you get into the numbers and everything because it's really cool, honestly. But dude, I literally feel like I just heard the game plan for this game. Like I feel like I just heard something that nobody else should hear. I feel like this is like probably Brom's like, son of a bitch. How like that was awesome, dude. That was really cool.
That was awesome.
I always love when
way too many numbers than I could ever say or remember.
Yep, sorry.
I'm a numbers guy. Yeah. Yeah. It's my alias on here. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So Chris, you said something about, it being a big game for Charlie Jones, and I don't know about that because he's pretty banged up still.
He is.
So I don't know how much they're gonna try to get him going if they can't get anybody else going. So I feel like they'll probably try to get Payne and everybody else going first, hopefully, and then go to Chuck here every now and then would be great. But
I think banged up or not, that kid is a grinder. That kid is a fighter.
Right.
And
I just want to make it to the finish line and get to bye week before anybody else gets hurt.
Yeah. I think that kid definitely he knows what's up and he knows the opportunity that's at hand to stop a long losing streak. And I think he's fired up for it. I think he's gonna do big.
Brom says he's not. They just haven't been practicing him Monday through Thursday. They're just trying to keep him healthy.
Which is mind-boggling that he can go 4 days off and come out and drop 12 catches for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, agreed.
But whatever,
Sounds like we're gonna have a fully healthy King, and a major factor. If we're gonna talk about injuries for a second. Is OC Brothers coming back? It sounds like everything's looking good for him. And that cryptic tweet by Brock Thompson today sounds like he might be coming back.
Yeah.
It was interesting because Brom said he re-injured himself. So Brom will never say someone's out for the season. He'll just say they're a game time decision until the end of the season. But I tell you what, surprised to see Brock coming back.
I love Brock's grit and his determination. He's more of a man than I'll ever be, especially after that Tennessee game with two broken legs basically, or knees. But man, I hope that he's thinking about himself first in this situation because I just don't want to see him hurt his legs to the point of this is like bad, or you know what I mean? Like I'm all for him coming back. I think that'd be awesome. I just want him to be like fully healthy because I know he looked pretty skittish in that Penn State game, and then he got one good tackle and he was just out after that. So I just hope that if he does come back soon, that's awesome. I'd be super pumped about it, but I just want him to be fully healthy and like, good to go. Cause I just don't want him to sustain any kind of injury that could, put him out of doing anything for a long time.
Hey, he followed me on Twitter the other day. I was a big fan before that. Now I'm even bigger. I mean,
Huge fan.
why he
Yeah.
follows me? Couldn't tell you. I'm just a stooge on Twitter that talks a lot of nonsense, but I appreciate it.
Sanusi
That's
Kane
awesome.
followed me when he committed. Like he committed
Nice.
to Purdue. I followed him, and he followed me right back. So
That's cool.
when speaking of players, I think everyone knows. I'm a fan of Sanusi Kane. I love the guy. I love the way he
Gotta be
plays.
Kane.
We're halfway through the season, a little bit more than halfway through the season now, and I figure that's a good segue into maybe who we think the offensive and defensive MVPs are. So, Chris, why don't you lead us off in that category?
Offensive, I'm definitely going to go with, I feel like this is kind of an obvious one, but Maccabee. I definitely think that he has brought an aspect to the offensive game plan that we really didn't have going into the season. Like running the ball was a luxury if we could do it leading into the season. And he's kind of last 3 weeks, I saw on Twitter, I want to say it was like 354 yards and 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks or something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah,
he's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy legs is crazy indeed.
He said in the post game presser that he has several nicknames, one of which is Crazy Legs and Soap. That was the one that stuck with me. I'm like, no, it makes sense because I've described him as slippery all season. He is like his ability to change direction is insane.
Yeah,
like, I watch his runs. I'm like, how?
That kid could
how
be
did you just do that?
by the time he's a senior? Like, just obnoxious. And then defensively, I don't know. There's so many I like. I like Allen. I like Trice. Probably Trice. Like Trice post knee brace has been
post knee brace. Trice has been on another level.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he really has.
Once he kicked that knee brace to the side, he has been an all Big Ten, like first or second round type player. Like he's been a stud. So
I'll Trice is my defensive MVP, and since we're talking about him, I'll kind of go into to why missed tackling has plagued us all season. He has 1 missed tackle on the season. He's been targeted 22 times, 8 catches. The most impressive thing about that is his yards after the catch. Collectively, total on the season, 21 yards after the catch. But that's like, and then like when you look at the his quarterback passer rating against him, it's 28.8.
Jeez.
But he's 6 pass breakups, an interception. Like he's a guy who, like, you don't hear his name a lot, and that's because they're just not throwing to him. So he
like Karlaftis last year. You just
exactly. Yeah, you didn't hear his name because he was getting triple team. But Minnesota, it was the first game where he didn't wear a knee brace, and they wanted to go after him. They wanted to try to expose him. They didn't think he was 100%, and they threw to him 3 times in the first quarter, and they didn't go back to him again.
Goofy.
And he broke up all 3 of those passes. So, spoiler alert: Corey Trice, my defensive MVP. But we'll just continue on. Dylan, what do you think? Offensive and defensive MVP so far?
Probably like AOC quarterback. I'm just such an AOC fan.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think there's a way, like, even if you're not a Purdue fan, I feel like you got to be like that AOC kid.
You just love the story.
Yeah, just a gritty kid. Just really knows how to put the nose to the grindstone and get it done. So AOC is like my offensive, guru for sure. I think Jalen Graham had a really good game. Really put the pressure on Nebraska's quarterback. Had a hell of a game. And then my out of the blue MVP is Purdue Pete. As always, Pete has great, and I love the photo with him with I don't know what Nebraska's mascot is. The Cornhusker.
Yeah, I don't either.
But he had a sign that says "Our corn is better."
Yeah, that's amazing.
Dude,
I don't
I
know where
did
he
not
got it,
see
but
that.
it was
That's
awesome.
great.
It almost looks like a Renaissance photo. Like it has like an artistic feel to it.
And the Cornhuskers like, no. So
Oh,
it's
and
really
Purdue
good.
Creative, man, those guys.
Those guys are awesome.
That's another MVP. I'm throwing MVPs at every department, every side of the ball.
There you go. I love it.
Purdue Creative, those guys
Yeah.
are unbelievable, and I will shout their praises until the very end because they kill it every week.
Russ.
Damon.
Oh, Damon. Russ.
Damon.
Damon.
Go Damon.
Both of you at the same time.
I'm still here, guys. I'm still here.
And go.
Russ,
you got it,
you're
Russ.
up.
Russ.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to take one of the chalk picks too, since Dylan already mentioned AOC. I mean, Charlie Jones, Chuck Sizzle, like
Who?
Right? I mean,
Who's
we
that?
talked about him before the season, but we talked about who was going to be leading receiver this year, and he wasn't even legitimately on the radar. We were talking about Sheffield, Thompson, Rice, and we said, okay, hey, this transfer guy should be, he should be a contributor. Brom said his name a few times before the season. But if you said he was going to break records that Rondale and David Bell set, you're full of crap. Like nobody said that. Nobody thought he was going to be.
I didn't think he'd be a mid-season All-American.
He's got double the yards, the receptions, and triple the touchdowns of the next guy on our team.
Yeah.
So how? I mean, and not to mention, you talked about when him getting healthy and he's banged up. Him going to the tent once or twice a game is like status quo.
Yeah,
exactly. you hear the announcers talking about he's banged up, and then it's like Charlie Jones with the first down catch, and it's like what?
67 yards. Like holy crap!
Again. Oh, he's back with another big catch.
He's faster hurt than I am in a car. Like,
yes. So I mean, I don't know how. Yeah, there's been some great surprises, and AOC's been steady, but to say. It's not Charlie Jones. That's one of the biggest impacts compared to what you thought he was going to do before the season. Even with Mockabee and what he's done, it's our run game as a whole that's kind of been great. Our offensive line as a whole that's set, but individual player, Charlie Jones, like, come on, man. Give me some Chuck Sizzle.
Love it.
Sorry,
and then what about
Frank,
defense?
I saw that picture you just sent, and I love it.
Yeah. Thought you like that.
Thank you. My new background.
What about defense, Russ?
Oh, defensive. So I'll go with Cam Allen. He's somebody I talked about before the season that I liked the fact that he was coming in as a super senior, and he's a former quarterback. He's got great vision. He's been steady back there. He hasn't made maybe as many of the big play moments. He finally got his pick six here, so he got that knocked out. But he's just been steady. He's been a good leader for us back there. He's not. We've got some guys banged up, obviously. Jalen Graham, Corey Trice,
everyone.
Sanusi, all these guys have been kind of banged up, but he's been fairly steady and fairly consistent for us back there. So, I think our defense looks a lot different if we don't have a kind of a field general, smart-minded player that gets people in position back there the way he has this season. So, Cam Allen's my defensive. Not as passionate as Charlie Jones, but yeah.
No, and you took the words out of my mouth for my offensive MVP. It's got to be Charlie Jones. My favorite thing about Jones before he even started. Well, actually, no, I can't remember what game. What game was this after? I think it might have been after the Syracuse game. Somebody was talking to Brom about Charlie Jones, and they go, it was really all Aiden that got him in here because we knew he could return the ball, but there really wasn't much tape on him catching the ball, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah. I know it probably wasn't a dig at all. It was just like literally factually, there's not much tape on him catching the ball whatsoever.
Well, he played at Iowa, so there's that.
Yeah, but it was just funny. But yeah, Charlie Jones has just been incredible. He's just so quick that one of the I think it was his first touchdown Saturday. He caught that in a slant, and then he just pivoted the other way and was just gone. He just pivots and explodes so quickly, which reminds me a lot of Rondale. So yeah, easily Charlie Jones. That's just been an incredible surprise, and I love that. We still have a pretty solid wide receiver room even without him. And so, if he is banged up, if he is out for a few plays, we've got Sheffield, we've got Rashawn Rice, Payne Durham, which surprisingly still hasn't. He's been used, enough, but I would love to see him get in there more in the rotation.
He hasn't been the Payne Durham we're used to, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then defense, got to go with Sanusi Kane. I think he's just everywhere all the time. He's super. He hits hard. He's super powerful. But I always feel like he's the guy that if a tackle gets missed, he's always the one wrapping it up for somebody if they miss that tackle. So, no matter where he's at on the field, he's always charging after the ball. And so I think he's just been a great ignition into this defense. I think that he has, really helped create, Chris, like you were talking about earlier this year, the Legion of Boom for Purdue in the secondary. I think he's been a huge part of creating that. And so
last week was the exception that proved the rule.
Well, his Sanusi Kane is an interesting player in that his value is mostly in run stopping. So he is according to PFF, he is our best run stopper, and it's not even close.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah,
Damon
it
just
makes
like
sense. It fits his playing style.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said Damon just like saying it's got to be Kane.
Yeah, dude, I love me some WWE from the 90s, and so every time Sanusi Kane does something, I'm like, it's gotta be Kane.
So what you're saying is that in like the next game you come up, you have to have that black and gold Kane mask.
Dude, so I have the mask. I ordered it, and I spray painted it black and gold. It's in the garage. I spray painted it today, actually. It's in the garage drying, or else I'd go and grab it. And
you've
show
already
you
got
guys.
the
But yeah,
belt.
I'm excited to.
You've already got the belt too, man.
Yeah, I've got the belt too, so I'm ready to go. But if we're giving just other shout outs too, I like that idea. I love that idea. I'm gonna give a fan shout out. Number one fan for me this entire year has been James Knows Ball. If you're listening, James, your meme game is on another level that is untouchable. You and the group of guys that you run around with, it's just hilarious. Anytime we beat a team, you just go to their final score post, and it's just meme after meme after meme after meme, and it's the
I've
greatest.
literally been in tears. I genuinely hope he's listening and knows that I've literally been in tears.
Yeah.
So
real
quick on my offensive MVP, I'll be brief on this. Got to give a shout out to Spencer Holstage. He's played 300. He's been 316 snaps blocking the pass this year. He's allowed 6 hurries, 0 sacks.
Jeez.
AOC is not making throws without that guy. Gus Hartwig's close second, but he has given up 1 hit and 1 extra QB hurry, so I had to go with Spencer Holstage. So shout out Spencer, great job, appreciate it.
I know you're listening. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So well, I guess we'll go ahead and
I don't even know where we're at right now.
Let's see. I have a couple other questions on here, but we're kind of running over time. So I'll just throw in one more, the last one. So we're sitting at 5-2 right now, which is awesome. We're 1 game away from bowl eligibility. I hope I didn't curse us by saying that.
Thanks.
And so how do you guys genuinely, logically, how do you see the season ending? And then we'll go to game predictions.
Yeah, I'll start that. I definitely think we will make a bowl game for sure. I think we will win at least 1 game from here out. But I think the theme is going to continue, and that every game is going to be a grind, no matter who we're playing.
My doctor loves hearing that.
Yeah. I even think IU is going to be a grind. Honestly.
Stop it.
But the thing is that I don't think we are who we are right now without the loss to Penn State, without the loss to Syracuse.
1000%.
Because Aiden O'Connell said it in his post-game presser that, okay, it's another fourth quarter, nail biter. We've been here before and we've pulled it out. Yep. And I think that they've learned that you got to play mistake-free in those situations. And we saw a lot of them against Penn State and more than I want to admit against Syracuse. But I think that they understand that you have to execute in those scenarios. That being said, I realistically see another 9-win season out of this.
Before the bowl?
Before the bowl, correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think that's why Finneran missed that last PAT to give some juice to the defense?
Make a little nervous.
Yeah,
I like it.
It was intentional. Yeah.
I definitely I could see anywhere between 8 and 10 wins. We could win out the rest of the way. I wouldn't be surprised. We could drop 2. We could drop 1. But I definitely think we go positive the last 5 games of the year. Get to 8 to 10 wins and be solid. But my heart says we definitely get 10 wins. My brain says 9.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, no,
I think Indy's a very real possibility.
it is a very real possibility, and the answer to that question lies in who's going to beat Illinois, whether it's us.
Yep.
But I hate to break it to everyone who has been dissing on Illinois. They are a very good team.
Defensively.
All the analytics, all the metrics have them as a top 15 ranked team right now. They're a very good team, whether we want to admit it or not. And I know it's difficult because we're not used to Illinois being good. Outside of their loss to IU, they've been pretty good. Iowa's going to be a grind too. That's also going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But that's also home, so I'm not too worried about that one.
Yeah. So Dylan, how do you see the season playing out from this point?
I'm never a big prediction guy on Twitter. Before every season, I say Purdue will go undefeated, and then they'll go to the national championship, and then we'll win the whole damn thing.
I like this guy's
but that's
vibe.
not going to happen.
I love it.
Purdue will definitely make a bowl game, absolutely. And if it's the Music City Bowl again, I will riot the streets.
Yes.
I was at the game last year, and it was awesome. Love Nashville, but good God, we've been there 2 times in the last, 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
3.
So I'm over it. So I'm over the Music City Bowl. So any other bowl, any part of the country I can see that isn't Nashville.
I saw Citrus Bowl today against LSU.
Dude, give me LSU. Give me that. Their head coach. I was going to be a little mean. I'll be nice. They're but to give me LSU for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Show Ricky Collins that he made a mistake.
You guys hear we're all like saying and agreeing with out loud. We just said give us LSU, and we were like, yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, that's like a huge like
crazy compared to that 2012 picture I posted in the group chat the other day.
Yeah, he posted a picture from a game against Wisconsin, and there was like 4 people in the stands.
Yeah,
and it was game time.
Yeah, it was like kickoff. That was, it was
a lot of leg room in those days. I missed that. Because the lady that sits behind me, God love her, older and all get out, but she has to sit with her knees straight. And I use her at the end of the day, I'm a big boy, like I'm not small, and I need all the room I can get. And so, listen, lady, I will use your knees if you're watching. I will use your knees as a backrest all game long. Don't listen. Don't threaten me. I will win this battle.
That's great.
Russ, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I feel like similar to you, Chris. I don't see how we go worse than 3-2 in the last 5.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of worst case scenario, and it's definitely kind of the next 3. At Wisconsin, home against Iowa, at Illinois. If we can pull off one of those road wins and hold serve against Iowa, I don't see how we don't end up in Indy. I don't see how that. Even if we beat Wisconsin, beat Iowa, lose at Illinois, I feel like Illinois is not going to win out.
Yeah, Illinois still has to play Michigan.
Yes, yeah. So Illinois has. I just had their schedule pulled up too. Dadgummit. All right, so they've still got Michigan, and what am I listening here? Yeah, Michigan's their big game. Michigan's a big game. They still got left.
Michigan, us, Wisconsin, Iowa, I think.
No, they played Wisconsin, beat Wisconsin. They beat
Iowa too.
At Nebraska this weekend, and then not this weekend, next weekend, and then home against Michigan State, then us at Michigan. They closed out against Northwestern at Northwestern. So, but yeah, I see us, anywhere from 3-2 to 4-1 last 5 games. And what I would love to see, you said Citrus Bowl, but don't give us LSU, give us Tennessee again. Let us prove.
Well, we won't see Tennessee because they're going to be a college football playoff team.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know about that. They've still got a lot of work left to do. But I would love at least Citrus Bowl against an SEC team for sure. If it's not Tennessee, hey, what do we keep joking about and say? Give us Bama.
Give us like Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, Arkansas,
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I would be cool with an Oregon or somebody like a
We'll be
Pac-12
playing
team.
them in conference soon. We don't need Oregon right now.
Oklahoma, Texas. Texas.
I think
would be
Ball
tough.
State's having a pretty good
Oklahoma.
year, aren't they?
Texas would be a good one.
Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah,
of Texas, their new drum is stupid. There, I said it.
Yeah. Nerds.
yeah, I
Purdue
agree.
has the
Yeah.
real drum because we've kept the same damn one all these years.
Yeah,
Don't give
little,
me your new
yeah.
your new.
talk about
shiny-
little brother syndrome. Jeez.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Damon, what you got?
But,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
haven't heard from you, Damon.
So I'm, I think a lot is for me on my prediction is based off of this next game. If we win this next game, I think Purdue goes 10-2 for the rest of the year. I really do. We've got the bye week after that. People can just, I mean, Charlie
healthy
Jones
for the love
hasn't
of
been
God.
practicing, but he can continue to not practice and
Yeah.
get healthy. But yeah, everybody can get healthy, take a breather.
Yeah, if we win
Yeah.
next week's game, if we beat Wisconsin, I'm going to be very nervous.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but and I think Iowa. I think if we can score early and quickly, I think we could. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. Okay. I think if we can get out ahead early against Iowa, I think that it could be. I'm not gonna say a blowout, but maybe a 27-10.
Like last year's game.
Type victory. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The
So
Iowa game is the first to 10 wins.
My heart is
First
saying
to
10-2, and we're meeting somebody in Indy. But logically, I'm gonna say we finish the season 4-1, and so we finished 9-3.
But still 9-3, I think gets us to Indy, depending on what Illinois does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
If
dependent on
Illinois poops the bed against Northwestern the last week of the season, like we could have it's just that's the crazy thing is us in Illinois.
Northwestern beat Nebraska.
Do what?
Did Northwestern beat Nebraska?
No, Nebraska or no, yeah, they beat Nebraska.
Yeah.
in Dublin. Yeah, in Dublin.
Yeah.
So
it's just it's crazy. Like it's a fun time.
Again, it hasn't been a factor yet, so I haven't said it, but depending on if it snows when you guys are up at Wisconsin or if
it's
not
supposed to be
like
70 degrees.
Oh, really?
It's supposed to be 70.
That's right. You said that
It's gonna be
today.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's a major.
The weather bug
major
hasn't
factor
came
for us.
after us yet this year.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wow, David just messed with all the mojo, man.
Illinois. We were literally we were at the game and we were at the game and Chris went to go to the bathroom. He came back and I just scooted over. I was like, oh my God. And he sat down. I go, oh no. He looks at me and I go, I think I just ruined the entire mojo of the whole stadium. I think I just threw everything off. We got to switch back.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, what a year it's been already, though. No matter how the season ends, it's been an incredible year. I think I saw the stat today. We're 14-6 in our last 20 games, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We're trending in the right.
4 in the last 16 conference games or whatever.
Yeah, so we're trending in the right direction. Hopefully, it continues that way. Whether these games are going to be heart stoppers or Purdue gets it all together and we just blow these teams out.
I don't want to. I'm nervous.
But yeah, cool. Well, Dylan, thank you so much for being on
Dylan,
today, man. It was awesome hearing your stories, your passion for Purdue athletics and everything in between, man. It's really cool to hear all your takes and everything. We loved having you on here, and everybody listening at home or watching on YouTube, we appreciate you guys as well. Boiler up, hammer down, and beat Wisconsin. So
beat Wisconsin.
Let's get the dub.
Boiler up, hammer down.
Boiler up. All right.